And you're sticking to your stand. I appreciate that. I may disagree with you on many counts though, but let me take this across to Yogendra Yadav. And Yogendra Yadav, in your
fulfill the promises,
tweet,
then only he can impress the people of the country. I think he has failed completely.
Ek minute. So, Suleiman Khanji, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to Yogendra Yadav. Give me a minute, please. योगेंद्र यादव जी, you tweeted saying, जब मनमोहन सिंह लाल किले से बात करते थे तो नींद आती थी, मोदी जी जगाए रखते हैं, कलाकार हैं, लेकिन आज जगाए रखने से ज्यादा मशक्कत करनी पड़ रही है, पुराने डायलॉग दोहरा रहे हैं, जुबान फिसली है, आंखें बार बार कागज पर जा रही हैं, कुछ नर्वसाई से लग रहे हैं. Why do you say that? क्यों ऐसा कह रहे हैं आप? Because many people will say the speech was spoken with great vigor. It had the rhetorical flourish that has now come to be a part of all Modi speeches. Why do you say? क्यों मुश्किल करनी पड़ी आपको जगाने में?
Thanks for noticing that tweet. I think we should judge the speech on 3 counts. One is symbol, the second is style, the third is substance. On symbol, I would welcome a few things. Subramaniam Bharati's poem, I thought was salutary. The reference to Northeast was really welcome. The announcement that women will have permanent commissions in the army, the Prime Minister should be thanked for this. And I was personally quite relieved that he did not resort to that somewhat low-grade communal rhetoric which he has used, unfortunately, in many political speeches. On style, and the tweet that you read out refers to style. Look, he's an artist, he's a performer. So one should not judge him by the standards of Manmohan Singh, because he would beat Manmohan Singh any day. Even in his sleep, Mr. Modi would deliver a better speech than Manmohan Singh. But I thought, judging him by his own standards, he looked a little jaded today. More than once he sort of fumbled, and his body language displayed a nervous energy which I have not noticed very often. I noticed that in the no confidence motion speech as well. So something is happening there. This is an artist, this is a magician who is on the stage and knows that his spell has been broken, that all the dialogues that he had to speak have been spent, and that he probably has nothing fresh to offer. So by his own standard, I thought it was a jaded speech and reflected something of what is happening to his perception in the public. But let me come to substance, which is what we should judge the Prime Minister's speech on. There were omissions. He did not speak about demonetization. The country deserved a response, deserved an explanation on that. He did not talk about the rupee-dollar equation, something he loved to talk about when Manmohan Singh government was in power and when he delivered that mock Red Fort speech in 2013. 3. No systematic argument or data on employment, where he owed the country an answer because of his 2 crore a job promise. No mention of farmer suicide, something that I really was disappointed. Not once in the last 5 years has he acknowledged the fact of farmer suicide. And no mention of lynching, something he did talk about 3 days ago in a so-called interview. So these were omissions that disappointed me. But even more disappointing were a series of dubious statistics that the Prime Minister rattled off from the Red Fort on the MSP, that the MSP demanded by farmers all these years.
Yogendra Yadav, allow me to interrupt you, sir. Yogendra Yadav, allow me to interrupt you, sir, because the substance of the speech is what we will debate through the course of this show. Yogendra Yadav, allow me to interrupt you, sir. The substance of the speech is what we'll debate through the course of the show, and we have you because we will ask you on that MSP promise that he's again reiterated and whether it's going to convince farmers at all. We'll talk about that, but let me get reactions from everyone. Krishna Sagar Rao has listened to your comments and of Mr. Suleiman Khan, and only fair I'll let him respond to that. Krishna Sagar Rao, Yogendra Yadav calls it a jaded speech. Congress party is accusing you of using this opportunity to play politics. The Prime Minister using this opportunity to play politics and not answering the compelling questions that the nation now wants to know. Your response to it, Mr. Rao.
Yes, Sandeep, thank you for that, and I wish to extend my very, very hearty wishes on the Independence Day for all the panelists here and you. And yes, I think I would save the bitterness in reacting to my opponent party panelists for today, just for today at least. I think this was a ceremonial speech as much as I remember, as as being in the role of a prime minister and for completing almost his term. And this happens to be his first term elected prime minister's speech after 2014 elections. So I think he has used it brilliantly to reach out and state his governance deliveries, state his governance agendas for the future and the continuity, as we strongly believe will be back in the parliament and also in the PMO. And that is what it was. It was more of a governance speech. It was a speech to inspire the nation. It was a speech filled with the invoking of patriotism, pride, and the potential of India, and how a larger vision for India and a vision for good governance can be aspired from this party and the coalition. And that's what we promised when we came in. I don't want to get into micro details and challenge the facts presented with a fictitious fervor by Mr. Yogendra or Mr. Khan today. But I can certainly tell you the India today is way better than what it was in 2013 after we took over, and that is not what my judgment is. It is the judgment of the world. It is the judgment of the statisticians across the world. It is the judgment of the NRIs living outside the world. It is the judgment of most of the people inside the country who voted for us 16 times out of 18. So in a democracy, the Prime Minister of this country has lived up to his stature of a role of a Prime Minister and has... Yes, go ahead, Supriya.
Mr. Krishna Sagar Rao, give me a minute. I will come back to you. I don't want to make this rhetorical at all. Let me go across to Ghanshyam Tiwari, because you raised this important point of how this speech was supposed to inspire and invoke nationalism and patriotism in India. This was an effort, like you say, trying to sketch out a new rising India. Ghanshyam Tiwari, are you any more inspired today than you were 24 hours back?
Well, first and foremost, a very happy Independence Day to the entire country. Today is a day to power our own inspirations to build India. As far as the speech is concerned, I reflect on 2014 speech of the Prime Minister, which I believe was a visionary speech, where he said that there should be a 10-year moratorium on hate. He spoke about digital India, he spoke about Make in India, he spoke about trade deficit, by the way, and he spoke about how every past government has contributed to the nation. Today he set the clock to 2013 and he forgot everything else before that, and he said how India has progressed since then. But even in that, he did not mention about his landmark slogans of Make in India or demonetization, or the slogans with respect to Jan Dhan Yojana, for example. So the Prime Minister's speech from 2014, when sky was the limit, to today is scheme is the limit. So he limited his agenda to the schemes that he wants to present to the country, and I think it was a cautious speech. He did not put any barbs on the opposition, so that the day is not spent in bickering. It's a speech that may not inspire many, because there's no call to action in this entire speech, not to the youth, not to his own party cadres, or not to any one segment in the country. Finally, it is good to see the Prime Minister thanking, supporting, cheering the honest taxpayers in the country.
See, Ghanshyam, that you are being, like Mr. Yadav as well, sort of being measured in your response and sort of pointing out the good things that came out of the speech, which is what we expect in, from our politicians, and I take that in the right spirit. But Yogendra Yadav, let's now get to the substance of the speech, and since you did raise the issue of farmers, and it's only fair I give you the opportunity to speak about that and whether or not the concerns were addressed, because there's no point talking about demonetization, Make in India, etc., because those issues were not touched upon by the Prime Minister in his speech. He did make an attempt to talk a lot to the farmers directly, spoke about giving an export push for the agriculture sector at large, again spoke about linking the farmer to the market, which, agriculture economists keep talking about, and the fact that more needs to be done on that front, reiterated the government's resolve to increase the MSP and, of course, double farmer income by 2022. So, in some sense, at least you can't accuse him of not giving mind space to the farmer in this particular speech. How convinced would they be?
Absolutely. The Prime Minister has been devoting time to speaking about farmers for the last few months. In fact, ever since Gujarat election, when he realized that he could lose the national election largely because farmers' unrest, He has been giving a lot of word space to farmers. The question is, what is the substance here? He said several things. One, he thanked farmers for production. The trouble is that the tragedy of the farmers is that producing more has become a burden for the farmers today because they don't get the prices. But I take it, as Mr. Rao said, these are ceremonial speeches, and if he thanks the farmers for that, that should be taken in the right spirit. But what else does he say? He talks about doubling of farmers' income as if it's a project, as if it's a mission on which the nation is moving forward. He forgets to mention the fact that no progress has taken place on this at all. The country does not even have a action plan, has no milestones, has no goals, has no midterm review. Nothing has happened on that so far. And the income of the farmers, according to the economic survey done by Government of India, has remained stagnant in the last 4 years. The Prime Minister spoke about export initiative, target of increasing the exports. What he forgot to mention was that actually under his regime, exports have come down from where they were. They used to be in 2012-13, exports had gone up to $48 billion. They are down to $37 billion. So these are schemes, but the performance has actually lagged. He spoke about irrigation. The simple fact is that on irrigation, if you look at the macro projects, the performance of projects which needed to be completed by March this year is that about 2/3 of them are yet to be completed. On micro irrigation, as the parliamentary committee showed last month, 90% projects are pending. This is the performance on irrigation. On MSP, the less said the better. The Prime Minister repeatedly said what everyone was demanding has been fulfilled. The simple fact is, yes, the government has given A2 plus FL plus 50%. That is not what the Swaminathan Commission demanded. That is not what the farmers' movements have been demanding. And that is not what Mr. Modi had indeed promised in 2014. It was C2 plus 50%. So there is a sleight of hand. I don't expect my Prime Minister from the Red Fort to indulge in sleight of hand. And of course, there was no mention of farmers' suicide, which is tragic. I don't expect the Prime Minister to solve it from the Red Fort. I expect him to acknowledge this truth.
Right. But make a mention. Yeah. Make a mention and acknowledge it is what I think the rest of us would have also wanted. But just to go away from that for a moment, and Sulaiman Khan, I'm going to come to you in a minute, but I want to get one question that has plagued my mind ever since I've heard this speech to Mr. Krishna Sagar Rao. There was no mention of some of the most burning issues of the day, Mr. Rao. And you may say it was a celebratory speech, but that was also the Prime Minister of our country, our Prime Minister addressing all of us. No mention on Rafale, no mention on lynching, no mention on jobs. There seems to be this crisis. You can't keep hiding behind a debate on data. No mention of NRC, no mention of hate politics. I mean, he has talked about these issues in the past. Ghanshyam Tiwari a little while back said he's spoken about a 10-year hate moratorium in 2014. These were very, very noticeable by the omission. Why did he choose not to touch upon these issues? Because these are the burning issues of the day. Mr. Rao.
Supriya, with all due respect to the fellow panelists, as I stated earlier, this is a speech which is not topical to an issue, nor this is a debate raised by some opposition parties and where he's addressing that particular issue in the parliament. This is an open speech where he picks his points of choice, where he wants to reach out and extend his arms to and his mind space to the people of the country. And this is certainly selective, and it has to be selective because if you want to inspire, you talk more of solutions than problems. Certainly there are other times and other opportunities to discuss problems. Now, I didn't say that he didn't discuss problems earlier. That was when he started off as a Prime Minister. Today he solved some of the problems, and I am not saying that he solved all the problems. It would be outrageous if I say that. That wouldn't be a fact. But you should understand, if there is a discrepancy or a shortfall in terms of the MSP fixation, but at least we made a progress. He has to accept that. And I'm not saying this. Swaminathan ji in last four days ago in Times of India article has clearly stated that part of my recommendations are being fulfilled by Narendra Modi's government. I didn't say it. Swaminathan ji said it, and he is very hopeful that most of his recommendations will be fulfilled. But this is just one term. We are just 4.5 years. So have some patience. That's what I would request Yogendra ji to do it. And no, there is no sleight of hand here. It is just that you cannot go into micro details when you're addressing the entire nation. Certainly agriculture, farmers are on the top of the mind space, top of the priority of this government and Narendra Modi ji today. We understand the plight of farmers today. But Yogendra ji should understand, 70 years we don't have a national agricultural policy which can substantially make changes in the lives of farmers. Who is to be blamed? Is it BJP? Is it this NDA government? Who? So please understand, if there are no reviews, if there is
okay,
no
Krishna Sagar Rao, okay, let's not take the debate back to 70 years. Okay, Krishna Sagar Rao, allow me to interrupt you there. Let's not take the debate back to 70 years because then there's no end to this debate. But Mohammad Suleiman, but Suleiman Khan, it's only fair I let you respond to it. And you know, look at the point that Krishna Sagar Rao and the BJP is making is you don't expect the Prime Minister to get into micro detail. And the other point is he was trying to build, you know, this is an opportunity when you instill a sense of patriotism, sort of inspire people. And so, you know, the narrative was to push you know, the effort was to push this narrative of a rising India, and it, you know, it may not have fit the construct of that speech to bring in Rafale or to bring in lynching, etc., etc. Even though he did touch upon issues like, you know, rape of women, and you know, and people have complimented him for that as well. So, how do you balance both these things in a speech?
Okay. You know, I'm very surprised what BJP spokesperson has said, that we have just only got one term. Modi ji has been voted for one term only. He was not voted for 10 years. He requested the nation that give me 60 months. I'll change the face of India on the earth. It will be a complete different nation. I'll bring Achhe Din. This is what he has promised. He has promised that I'll give 2 crore jobs to youth every year. I'll give 10 crore jobs in 5 years. I'll give MSP cost plus MSP plus 50% to the farmers. 35 farmers are committing suicide every day. He's silent on that. With the way Prime Minister has launched demonetization on 8th of November 2016, the whole country is waiting to have a word from the Prime Minister or the Finance Minister or RBI Governor to tell us how much money has been deposited in the banks. The government is not able to answer on that even. Nothing. You know, rather demonetization has hit badly MSME, and that is one of the reasons why rupee is plunging. You know, they have made history. It has not been done in 70 years, the way rupee is falling. Okay. Congress has not been able to do in 60, 70 years what Modi ji has done in 4 years. The issue of atrocities on Dalits, the rapes of the women.
There are other factors.
You know,
don't just.
Prime Minister forgot Unnao and Kathua. His own minister in his own cabinet is a rape accused. What has happened in Muzaffarpur, Devariya, Pratapgarh, Bhopal, shelter homes, all these are issues which Prime Minister should.
What did you expect the Prime Minister to do? No, 1 second. Suleiman Khan, listen to me now.
I'll keep on questioning Suleiman Khan, on every front.
What did you expect the Prime Minister to do? To stand up there and start reading everything that's wrong with India on Independence Day? I don't understand. What did you expect the Prime Minister to do? I may have seen a lot of omissions. I myself raised that question.
No,
but what did you expect the Prime Minister to do? To go over 10 pages and read everything that's wrong with India today? I mean, this is also a day of celebration.
Yes,
let's not belittle the day.
I expect him.
I am sorry, this is, let's not,
one and a half hours PM
there should have been instances spoken about, but you can't. Please, 1 second, hold on.
It is unfortunate.
Let us also,
otherwise, he should
Suleiman Khan, we are celebrating the 72nd Independence Day, let's not belittle the occasion.
He should speak
such a low-level politics.
I am going to Ghanshyam Tiwari. I want you to stop talking right now, both of you. Ghanshyam Tiwari, the Prime Minister. Suleiman Khan, you can keep talking. I will dim your audio. That's how I will do this show. Please listen to me. I have to go to Ghanshyam Tiwari. What you speak about is perhaps fair, but I don't think you expect the Prime Minister to just go out there and outline everything that's wrong with India today. That's not how you celebrate the 72nd Independence Day. That's the little point that I'm making. Ghanshyam Tiwari, since you are a little more charitable than perhaps the Congress spokesperson today, has the Prime Minister, by speaking about the first indigenous space mission by 2022, in some sense tried to sketch the rising India theme? Does that impress you at all?
Well, it does. The Prime Minister has tried his best to address different constituents in the country. If you look at geographically, he spoke about Northeast, he spoke about the West, that he comes from Gujarat. He quoted Subramaniam Bharati, and he spoke about a whole set of issues with respect to floods as well across the country. So I think he did cover the landscape of the country. What is very interesting is this speech does not seem like the last chapter of Prime Minister's 5-year term. It seems like an intermediate chapter. It means that there is something else that is going to come. Prime Minister said that there is some level of besabri, bechani to work more for the country, which means that he himself believes that his agenda is unfinished, whereas on one end he believes that his agenda is unfinished, on the other end he does not address the critical issues that the nation faces with respect to jobs, with respect to institutional status of various institutions in the country, with respect to democracy, freedom of expression, a whole bunch of things. Finally, I think Prime Minister did mix a set of rhetoric that will go down to his cadre. Today, my point still remains that there is no call to action for anyone in this country from the Red Fort by the Prime Minister.
Sort of being measured in your criticism as well. But Yogendra Yadav, running out of time, let you have the last word. And in this speech, do you, in some sense, you know, while I think like Ghanshyam pointed out, he didn't sort of play too much of politics. Yes, he referred to the 2013-2018 comparison, which to some extent is understandable to talk about what the government of the day has achieved. But in some sense, do you see he used this speech to set the agenda for 2019 and beyond? Did you see him try to position himself yet again as a change agent, you know, as a man with sort of destiny, and sort of the way he ended the speech, the rhetorical flourish with which he ended, you know, talking about his impatience and his sort of eagerness to do more. In some sense, he tried to wrest control of the narrative yet again, like he did so beautifully in 2014.
Look, let's be clear about one thing. The Red Fort speech of the Prime Minister of India is and is meant to be a political speech. At the end of 5 years, the Prime Minister is entitled to and should offer an account of his government, what they have done, and of course indirectly show that he has done better than others. That's their job. I would not find fault with it. If the President of India were to do it, I would object to it. If the Prime Minister of India does it, I will not object to it. My question really is, what is the account that he has submitted? Is this a truthful account? And when my Prime Minister from the Red Fort speaks half-truths, speaks dubious things, speaks lies, that is when I get rattled and I say, okay, is the Prime Minister trying to compete with Mr. Trump? Take one small example. The Prime Minister says WHO has brought a report which shows that 3 lakh children's life has been saved because of Sppech Bharat Abhiyan. I look up the WHO report. It says that if this program is done properly in the right spirit till 2019, then there is a possibility that 3 lakh children may be saved. Now, this is a lie. What is he saying? Does it behove of the Prime Minister of this country to do so? So my problem is not with his trying to be political or his trying to defend his government. He is entitled to it. But similarly, you and I are entitled to judging those claims, examining those claims. And when I examine it, I do not find a record which is satisfying. Yes, he has to be selective. But why is it that in his selection, there is a mention of triple talaq and no mention of that boy or millions like him who are not on the NRC today? Why is it that he has a lot of things to talk about security forces, as he should, but no mention of the fact that the number of security forces killed in Kashmir has doubled? Those are the questions that we should be asking.
Fair point. Sure enough, but that's what freedom means, right, Yogendra Yadav? I mean, that's what freedom means, that he can deliver the speech, he can make the political points, and we have the freedom to sit here, dissect that speech, criticize it, debate it, laud it, and that's what freedom means for all of us. Thank you very, very much for being on this special edition. All of you, Yogendra Yadav, Ghanshyam Tiwari, Sulaiman Khan, and of course, Prashant Sagar Rao, thanks very much for being with us. We'll take a quick breather on that note, and up next, we'll put the spotlight on what does this mean for Indian industry as well as for Indian economy.
Thanks for being with us. Back with lots more on the India Development Debate.